I call the member for Bowman.
Deputy Speaker, in this sorry debate tonight, where we see a government giving appalling explanations for their delays with regards to Wild Rivers, we will see from these four Labor members representing their entire side of government, members for Chifley, Shortland, Page and Fowler. I mean, four members, Deputy Speaker, who I don't know have even been to Arakoon. I mean, these are four members of Parliament, Deputy Speaker, who, if they ever turned up in an Aboriginal community, would only do so if their plane ran out of fuel.
The member will return to the motion, or he will sit down. The member for Bowman has the call.
They are four MPs who would only turn up in Arakoon, Deputy Speaker, an area critically affected by this appalling legislation. If their plane ran out of fuel, or there was a plot to be unravelled, it's the only time you would see them turn up to understand the implications of this bill. Now, we are talking about the use of river catchments. We are talking about the economic impacts upon Aboriginal Australia and Cape York. And as was so eloquently put in Balcanu's submission to this very inquiry, the notion that this is wilderness and wild simply betrays the lack of understanding that this government has for the economic desire of the people of Cape York to have a real chance at a job and a real chance at joining the global economy. But this is a government determined to back up their Queensland counterparts, who, for the last 5 years, have lamented the lack of consultation around the Northern Territory intervention. But what consultation was there for this Wild Rivers Act in 2005? In January, they came out with a parliamentary paper. In February, an explanatory memorandum, and by May 24 had rammed this through the Queensland Parliament that has no upper house to review. Now that is that government's record of consultation. It's appalling. And then given just one chance by this opposition to remedy these errors, to take, as Pearson has said, the foot off the throat of people living in Cape York, we've had this appalling diversion of this legislation for whatever the procedural excuses were by the Speaker before me, an appalling delay of years and years. Now, is this a government that cares about economic development? Do they care about the complex interplay between economic development, the environment and generational equity? Of course not. These are the principles of economically and sustainable development, the principles developed by the World Conservation Union. We've seen them used in COAG, but no, this bill goes so much further to rip away from Cape York residents, Aboriginal traditional owners, who are considered as nothing other than unrelated third parties under this legislation, to have a chance to join the real economy. Within a kilometre of a major waterway, not even a chance to engage in agriculture, not even a chance to build anything more than a fence, a track, a road or a fire break, without justifying that that piece of infrastructure is both absolutely necessary and can be put in no other location. I mean, what chance is there of having tourism in Cape York under those circumstances? Deputy Speaker, we have vegetation management acts through which this legislation is read that virtually prevents a weed from being pulled for Aboriginal Australians to have a chance at joining the real economy, generating real jobs and real enterprise. This flies in the face of all of the work done in the reforms to welfare, where we here in Canberra have reached out with a hand and said, join the real economy through positive social norms, through paying your rent, through building and owning your own home, sending your children to school, and then having a chance to take your own traditional lands and generate some form of employment and economic activity. And to have the last 8.5 of that 10-minute speech devoted to pale and pallid excuses only reminds me that this Saturday, Deputy Speaker, as Churchill said, that era of procrastination will come to an end. Your half measures, your baffling expedients, it's all going to come to an end this Saturday, and we will have a Queensland government that, if this side of Parliament doesn't have the heart to act on behalf of Aboriginal Australians, then the new Queensland government will do that, and they will unravel this grave injustice. Now, I don't care how many Green groups say that the economy is not hurt by this legislation. Deputy Speaker, the Aboriginal people are telling us that. And all we ask is that Aboriginal elders, through the bill moved by the Leader of the Opposition, can have a say in this dialogue. Through the principle of subsidiary, give them a chance to have a say about their own land. But no. Thanks to this collaboration between Canberra and the soon-to-be departed ALP government in Queensland, what we have is standing up for green preferences for the things that work in Ashgrove over the things that work in Cape York. And to leave Cape York exposed like that is a dreadful shame that this Labor government will bear.
Expired.